Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the July 5th Monday Super Stream. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the recent big news stories, such as the conviction of Bill Cosby being overturned and his release from jail. Pope Francis said to have colon diverticulitis surgery yesterday. We'll take a look at that story, as well as a couple of others. So I hope everyone had a good July 4th weekend, all my fellow Americans out there anyway. Pretty hot one up here in Milwaukee, but that's kind of how we like it at this part of year. So, in this video, we're going to take a look at some of these news stories, and then towards the end, we'll talk more about this channel and what we'll be developing in the coming months as we approach the fall. So, shout out to everybody who's early in on the chat. Got a nice little count going on here. And to kick this off, let's start with the lovable Bill Cosby of Cosby Show fame. Remember the phrase Cosby Show sums to 42 in reverse reduction, and anybody who follows my channel, or really any Gematria channel, probably knows that the number 42 is used negatively on stories about black people in the media. They put a phrase in quotes in this story, too, calling him America's dad, which also has this value of 42. The N-word, racial slur, slavery, bigotry, brothers, all words that sum to 42. Of course, this reminds us of Jackie Robinson, number 42, retired all across Major League Baseball, the name Jackie summing to 42. Cosby got out of jail on June 30th, which is the 181st day of the year. And 181 is what we call a prime number divisible only by 1 and itself. 181 is the 42nd prime number. And check out the name William Cosby, which is his real full name. William Cosby, 181 in the reverse alphabetic order. Also, think about how the date is written internationally. June 30th, 30/6, which in numerology represents the number 36. In reduction, Bill Cosby equals 36. Also, check out the reverse value of Bill Cosby, 144. The day before he was released was exactly 144 weeks after he was sentenced back in September of 2018. I found a deeper riddle here connected to the number 73 as well. Notice how the name Bill is 73 in reverse. And the reason he's getting out of jail is because they've determined that the testimony was tainted. And the word tainted has an ordinal value of 73. Now, why is this significant to Bill Cosby? In the square number cipher, William Henry Cosby has gematria of 367. The number 367 is another prime number, the 73rd prime number. And look how old Bill Cosby was when he got out of jail. 30,670 days. On top of that, his first full day of freedom, July 1st, was a span of 3 years and 67 days after he was originally found guilty. Everything about Bill Cosby in the news is by the numbers. Back in October, I made this post about a story about Bill Cosby, and this story, there was really no substance to it. All they pointed out is that Bill Cosby was smiling in this photograph, which they thought was really weird. Well, on the date of that news story, Bill Cosby was 999 months and 9 days old. In the standard 26-letter alphabetic order, Bill Cosby equals 99. And that picture of him smiling fell a span of 909 days after he was found guilty. There does appear to be some sort of revelation riddle here as well. A lot of these numbers connect to the number 666. We begin with 36 because the 36th triangular number is 666. The book of Revelation talks about the mark of the beast, 144, like Bill Cosby in reverse. He's also got the 99. And remember, 9 plus 9 has the same sum as 6 plus 6 plus 6. Bill Cosby was first sentenced to jail on September 25th, the date written 925. In English Gematria, Jesus Christ equals 925. And in our trusty Jewish cipher, Revelation equals 1010. And his release from prison fell exactly 1010 days later. On top of that, June 30th had primary numerology of 77, which is the value of Christ. Cosby was originally found guilty 77 days before his birthday. The words court and theater both sum to 77, as it appears this story certainly is. There's more 666 here. I invite you to check out the links in the description below. This was 198 days after the last total eclipse. The word beast, 198. And certainly a lot of people calling Bill Cosby's behavior beast-like. Rightfully so. Next, we're going to check in on a story about Pope Francis. And how about this one? Pope Francis having surgery for colon diverticulitis. Don't know why I can't say that word on the first try. Diverticulitis, not that hard. Now, whenever we talk about Pope Francis, we're usually talking about a riddle connected to the Jesuit order, as Pope Francis is the first Jesuit pope in the history of the Catholic Church. And the Jesuit order's symbol, when flipped upside down, is essentially the word shit, which of course comes from the colon. So no doubt this is connected, because no one has violated the colon more than the Catholic Church. I think that goes without saying. So how about this story? We checked this out. This came out on July 4th, yesterday, a date with primary numerology of 52. And how perfect is that for the Pope? Pope equals 52 in the alphabetic order. On top of that, diverticula sums to 52. That's the plural form. And check this out. The 52nd prime number is 239. Colon diverticulitis sums to 239 in ordinal. July 4th is not only the 185th day of the year, but it also leaves 180 days on the Gregorian calendar. And notice how both of these numbers appear in the ordinal value of both diverticulosis and diverticulitis. Independence Day also has this 180 gematria. Of course, July 4th, Independence Day here in the United States. Diverticulitis, 1080 in the Sumerian cipher. And this was attributed in the headline, where, using capital letters, Pope Francis has surgery for colon diverticulitis. Here you get that 1080. On yesterday's date, Pope Francis was 6 months and 17 days after his birthday. The number 617 is something we'll touch on later on in this video, as we're going to talk about this Delta variant of coronavirus, which was officially named at the end of May. And this lineage has the number 617 in it. And this is a pretty important number. The number 617 is a prime number. That would be the 113th prime number. And not only was Pope Francis 6 months, 17 days after his birthday, but July 4th also falls 113 days after March 13th, which is the date that Francis became the Pope. The word surgery sums to 113 in the alphabetic order. Diverticulitis surgery, also 113 in reduction. Notice how we also get this 293 in the alphabetic order for diverticulitis surgery. March 13th, 2013, when Francis became the Pope, that's the date leaving 293 days in the year. Diverticulitis surgery, also with a value of 2660. And that's important because Pope Francis is the 266th Pope in the Catholic Church's history. March 13th, by the way, the date that Francis became the Pope, wound up being a pretty significant date. In the United States last year, coronavirus was declared a national emergency on March 13th. March 13th is written 313 or 1303. The word coronavirus, 1303. Coronavirus pandemic, summing to 293. Again, declared a national emergency on the date leaving 293 days of the year, which was the 7th anniversary of Francis becoming the Pope. It was the year 2020, coronavirus pandemic 220. But also notice the 113, coronavirus pandemic summing to 113. And as you may recall, the 11th of March, or 11/3, was the date on which coronavirus was declared to be a pandemic by the World Health Organization. So seeing as we're on the topic here of coronavirus and controversial statements about this disease, which this producer believes is not a contagious virus. There's something much deeper going on with electromagnetic energy, whether it's man-made or cyclical with the Earth. It's well beyond what we're told, and really what we're seeing is two different types of diseases. We're seeing one where some people are having a hard time breathing, and another where people are experiencing flu-like symptoms. Well, with flu numbers going down 98 to 99% over the past calendar year, I think we can safely assume that most of these illnesses are just the flu. As far as people having difficulty breathing, look into electromagnetic frequencies and what they can do to blood cells. I'm going to ask everyone to do their own research on this. This is not a science channel. I am not a doctor. But let's talk about the Delta variant, which is now the big new thing. And of course, we knew this was going to happen. We knew that the COVID-19 itself was not the end of this ritual by any means. This is a huge compliance test that's going to go on for years, and people who are unvaccinated, like myself, will continue to get blasted in the media. In fact, CNN now has a special section dedicated to stories about unvaccinated people. And we're the ones being blamed now. Oh, well, the virus can infect us and then mutate into something else. Really, what a surprise. This is just more shit they're going to keep telling us until people finally give in and comply. So let's begin with the word Delta, as this is the name of the variant we're being told. The word Delta summing to 42 in the alphabetic order. And I've been explaining since the beginning of the pandemic that coronavirus is connected to the Revelation Code. When you type out COVID-19, you get Jewish and English values of 1010 and 850. These are the same exact numbers as Revelation 1010 and 850. Revelation is the final book of the New Testament. And the New Testament begins with the 42 generations to Jesus. Both New and New Testament equals 42. And this is a number that's significant to the book of Revelation as well, because the beast rules for a total of 42 months. And the number 42 has matching 142 Gematria with coronavirus, 142 in reverse. On top of this, the number 42 has a significant prime number relationship. The 42nd prime number is 181. We touched on this talking about Bill Cosby. In the alphabetic order, Jesus the Messiah sums to 181. And if you measure from the date that COVID-19 was declared a pandemic by the WHO to the date that the Delta variant was officially named, which was May 31st, 2021, per the Wikipedia page here, you get exactly 1 year and 81 days. And remember, Delta equals 42, 181, the 42nd prime number. What's so interesting about this measurement also is that not only is it 1 year, 81 days, but it's also 14 months and 20 days, connecting us to 142, like 42 and coronavirus. In the reverse alphabetic order, Delta sums to 93. 93, highly significant number to the Christ crucifixion riddle, God, Son, Crucifix, Nazareth, all 93. And in Sumerian Gematria, coronavirus, 930. This May 31st date, significant for another reason. It's also the 151st day of the year. The name Jesus Christ sums to 151. Again, the book of Revelation about the return of Jesus Christ. And on top of that, May 31st this year had numerology of 77. Remember, the word Christ on its own sums to 77. Now, in Sumerian Gematria, by virtue of this cipher multiplying the alphabetic order by 6, we find the number 444 to be highly important to this code. Jesus, Messiah, killing, cross, gospel, parables, all 444. And this Delta variant named exactly 444 days after March 13th. Remember, that was the date that the United States declared it a national emergency. This is the anniversary of Pope Francis taking the helm of the Catholic Church. Now, in 2020, we had a total solar eclipse that occurred at the halfway point of the two great American solar eclipses, the twin eclipses, as I call them on this channel. Bring up a different one here. So, this past December, the eclipse, whose greatest point of eclipse was directly over the nation of Argentina. Argentina is where Pope Francis is from. And we know that 2020 was highly significant to the eclipse code because total solar eclipse equals 202. Recall the president at the time, Donald John Trump, 220, went into action, launching Operation Warp Speed 220. Not sure I ever noticed Operation Warp Speed also with the 266, Francis the 266th Pope. Coronavirus, no doubt a ritual centered around Pope Francis. But again, I want to focus on this number 617, as this Delta variant is called lineage B.1.617.2. And this 617 is big because, again, this is the 113th prime number. Coronavirus pandemic, 113. Recall this was shortly after the death of Kobe Bryant, 113. Global epidemic is something they were calling it at first, 113. And now Kobe Bryant buried in Corona Del Mar, California. Corona Del Mar summing to 56 and 70, just like coronavirus, 56 and 70. Anthony Fauci has been the one that the media's parading in front of us about coronavirus, also 56. Tedros Adhanom, the head of the Global Health or World Health Organization, also 56. So many 56s. But I want to point out how this lineage B16172 sums to 72 in the alphabetic order. See that? 72. 72 is also the ordinal value of COVID-19. Now again, this is called the coronavirus. And when you look up the definition of the word corona, the first one you get is how it relates to the sun. The sun's corona, only visible during a total solar eclipse. Now, COVID-19 in reduction sums to 45. And 45 is connected to the number 13, which sums to 45 in both reduction methods. The word Kabbalah, also 45, connecting to other gematria of this virus. And the word Delta has this 13 gematria in Jewish. Well, notice how the Delta variant got its name exactly 197 weeks after the first Great American Total Solar Eclipse. 197 is the 45th prime number. And in the reverse alphabetic order, Delta variant, giving us a 197. Nope. Lost my calculator there. All right. Now let's see. If we measure to the second Great American Total Solar Eclipse, it's exactly 149 weeks or 1,044 days. And perhaps this is relevant. Revelation 149, number of the beast 1,044. And what I also thought is like, hey, is it possible that Delta Airlines is part of this riddle as well? Delta Airlines, the Delta variant. And what I realized is maybe. Oh my God, it's got to be. Look at the date that Delta Airlines first commenced operations. June 17th, the date written 6/17. 6/17, the big number in this new variant string. Are you kidding me? But if you measure from March 2nd, 1925, when the company was first founded, to the date that Delta variant got its name, exactly 1,155 months. 155, the ordinal value of coronavirus. Very intriguing. Yeah, I see a lot of people in the chat talking about the vaccines, and I'm not one to try and strike fear in anybody. The vaccines have already harmed a lot of people, of course. We know this. As of last week or 2 weeks ago, according to the reporting database, at least twice as many people who died in 9/11 have died within a day or two of taking the vaccine. And that goes across all ages. It's mostly elderly people who seem to be dying quickly, but there are many young, healthy people taking the shot, dropping dead a couple days later. This is real, guys. This is happening. There's plenty of examples, and just do your own research on this. It's not really in the media. The media talks about these complications from the vaccine, but they're very vague, and they always report that it's pretty underwhelming. Like, oh, some people are getting a larger heart. Is that really what you want to risk? Don't you trust your immune system to fight off a disease that 99.9% of people have had? And just something that I want to remind people of that I think is very important, which very few people are talking about from what I've seen, is that the CDC says 1 in 8 COVID cases were captured. So look, let's think about this for a second. This alone destroys the narrative of coronavirus. Destroys it. So this is a story from November of 2020, late November. The headline says, U.S. number of cases is probably 8 times bigger than what's reported. And of course, this is logical, right? The only people who tested positive were people who got the tests. And considering like 70 to 80% of people don't have symptoms, why would they think to get a test? Of course, many people who were sick never bothered to get the test. So what the CDC has said themselves is that they predict that there's 8 times as many coronavirus cases as were reported. Well, at the time of Thanksgiving last year, we had something close to 40 million cases, which, of course, is going to be a lot higher now today in July of 2021. So if you multiply 40 million times 8, you get 320 million. Well, what's the population of the United States? It's a little over 330 million. So, what this article is literally telling you is that everyone has pretty much had coronavirus. Yet, here we are 6, 7, 8 months later, and these vile pieces of shit are still encouraging people to get their vaccine. You never know if this deadly virus is going to mutate. Guys, this is insane. I mean, they put this right in your face. And for anybody who's looking for ways to convince people that this is all bullshit, they really need to think about talking about this first, I believe. It's pretty interesting stuff. And yeah, some of the chat is also mentioning, like, are there problems with vaccine shedding? And when I first saw vaccine shedding and people talking about this, my initial thought was that this is another hoax, because they did a lot of things to scare people from one another. You know, everyone wearing masks, socially distancing. These are all fear tactics. And when they start talking about how unvaccinated people should be avoiding vaccinated people, I thought, well, here we go, another fear tactic. I myself, unfortunate as it may be, has spent a lot of time around vaccinated people. I mean, almost everyone I know got the vaccine and is pretty happy to get it. Only a handful of friends of mine are like, hell no, we're not doing it. And, I haven't had any side effects from this stuff. Interesting people are mentioning, hey, don't have sex with the vaccinated either. I feel like that would be a lot more dangerous and something I've been avoiding myself for now. But really, when it comes to that, it's not so much the vaccine I'm afraid of. I'm afraid more of the person that I'm with. If they are going along with the system and believing the story, that's a person that I'm probably not going to end up with. I mean, look at how far down the rabbit hole I am. You think I can go back and start seeing normies again? That ain't going to happen. All right. So with that completely destroyed, let's go into another decode here. We talked about Bill Cosby. We talked about the Pope and his surgery. What about this Hurricane Elsa that's coming up, moving towards Florida? Now, last week, I did a video on the collapse of the condos in Surfside, Florida, and I talked about how this is a ritual connected to Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av, the Jewish holiday of remembrance for the destruction of the two temples. Now, Tisha B'Av in Gematria sums to 9/11. And, of course, it's no coincidence that 9/11 is when the two temples were destroyed in America back in the year 2001. This year, Tisha B'Av falls on July 17th, the date written internationally as 17/7. And here we get the collapse of the Champlain Towers, which sums to 177. And again, this is in Surfside, Florida, a very heavy Jewish community. And remember, Tisha B'Av, a Jewish holiday of remembrance. So no doubt what we're being told about this collapse is a complete lie. The number of dead is going to be a lie. Pretty much everything about it. But what stuck out to me today is how the rest of the building was demolished last night. And this was done out of concern of the arrival of Hurricane Elsa. So here we have this major story with Tisha B'Av, the Twin Towers, the destruction of the towers, and then we get a tropical storm named Elsa. And my head instantly went to the movie Frozen. Now, of course, I don't know as much about movies and film as I probably should, but I think everybody, maybe not everybody, most of you hear the name Elsa, and a lot of you think about Frozen. So I thought there's got to be a connection here. You know, this tropical storm threatening the building, them destroying it, the second half, it's definitely connected. So I ran the numbers on Hurricane Elsa and Elsa of Arendelle, and notice how they have the exact same gematria, 134, 62, 82. Condo collapse, also matching Hurricane Elsa, 134 and 217. And I thought that was pretty interesting, but check out the name Elsa in Jewish Gematria, 116, just like the ordinal value of demolition. Needless to say, the number 116 flipped upside down is 9/11. The first Frozen film hit theaters on November 22nd of 2013. And this was a pretty interesting date. Internationally, this date is written 2211. And 2211 is the 66th triangular number. The date of this film's release had primary numerology of 66. But if you measure from the date of this film's release to July 1st, when Elsa was named, so it was named a tropical storm Elsa on July 1st, and then on July 2nd, it was upgraded to a hurricane. So, measuring from the release of the film to both the naming of the storm and the upgrade to a hurricane is 91 months and 10 days, like a 9/11. Are you serious? On top of that, this is also 397 weeks. The number 397 is a prime number. That would be the 78th prime. And check out the gematria of Frozen. 78 reverse. And I've done work on this before, so have others, talking about the naming of storms being riddles for the news. This never fails. And here with this already established 9/11 ritual with this condo collapse, now we get a Hurricane Elsa, which the second tower gets destroyed for. It's amazing. Shout out to Simple Truth in the chat, saying the film came out on November 27th. I'm curious where that comes from. Frozen release date. Maybe IMDb has it differently. I feel like this is recent enough that there shouldn't be any discrepancy on the release date. But look at this. It does say November 27th. And that's pretty interesting. Let's see here. Where was I? Now, November 27th was not a Friday. Movies typically released on Fridays like this one, November 22nd. So I'm wondering if there was a limited release. Or maybe they changed this date for this ritual. You know, that happens too. I would doubt it, though. Let me see the history here. Because Wikipedia does this. They will change numbers in their articles to mess with us. Which is, I love how crazy that probably sounds to other people, but we know it's true. Yeah, it still said November 22nd, so thanks for the correction. I mean, you're not wrong to say it was the 27th because it does seem like it was reported on that date. But I'm getting conflict, so, you know, I didn't see it in the theaters when it came out, so I don't really know. Interesting nonetheless. So in regards to everything that has to do with 9/11, we recently had the death of Donald Rumsfeld on June 29th. And Donald Rumsfeld was the Secretary of Defense during the 9/11 attacks. The name Donald equals 119, the inverse of 9/11, like this Tisha B'Av ritual that's ongoing. Rumsfeld, curiously, was the Secretary of Defense twice. His first stint was under President Gerald Ford back in the mid-'70s. So the oligarchy of America, obviously controlling things, pulling the strings for many, many years, many decades. And notice how his first term ended in the year 77. News of Rumsfeld's death was published the day after he died on a date with primary numerology of 77. In reverse reduction, Donald Rumsfeld equals 77. And think about how big of a number that was during 9/11. September 11th is 77, so is World Trade Center. We even had Flight 77 strike the 77-foot-tall Pentagon 77 minutes after takeoff. Those are well documented. The date of the news of Rumsfeld's death also had matching numerology with 9/11, 41, 14, and 12. So the holiday of Tisha B'Av commemorates the destruction of the two temples, and those two temples were Solomon's temple and the second temple, which was also called Herod's temple. And notice how all of these have gematria of 58. Furthermore, third temple equals 58 in reduction, and the Jewish culture seeks to build the third temple. Donald Rumsfeld in reduction also matches 58 in reduction. He died in Taos, New Mexico, which equals 58 in reduction. Notice how Taos, New Mexico has gematria of 166 and 185. Those numbers definitely stand out because Twin Towers equals 166 and World Trade Center equals 185. The date that Donald Rumsfeld died leaves 185 days on the calendar. On top of that, he died 185 days after the anniversary of the death of Gerald Ford, who was the president during his first term as Secretary of Defense, December 26th to June 29th, 185. A major ritual that ties into all of this was the 2017 Las Vegas shooting. If you measure from the October 1st Las Vegas shooting to the collapse of Champlain Towers, we get this very intriguing number of 1,362 days. Let's pull up the original World Trade Center and take a look at these two buildings, the construction details specifically. It's not in this. I wonder if we have to look at the construction of the World Trade Center. Huh. This is one part I clearly did not prepare for ahead of time. How tall was the original World Trade Center is what we want to know. And if we can, let's see. Well, this one says 1368. 1362. Okay, it's right here in front of my nose, guys. Look at this. All right. So the South Tower of the World Trade Center was 1,362 feet. And again, the Champlain Tower condo collapse occurred 1,362 days after the Las Vegas shooting. If you go 5 days forward to Donald Rumsfeld's death, you get a span of 1,368 days. The second tower of the World Trade Center, the North Tower, stood 1,368 feet tall. So a pretty strong connection there, I believe. And just think about it. The Las Vegas shooting coming from the 32nd floor, you know, a tall tower, essentially. This shooting, I've done a lot of work on this in the past, connecting it to the JFK assassination. And the riddle there is really strong. Vegas equals 54. JFK equals 54. The Route 91 Harvest Festival began 54 days before the 54th anniversary of the JFK assassination. And there's so much more on that. I'll try to remember to link my posts and put them in the description below after this video. So when we're looking at the back to the death of Donald Rumsfeld, there's a couple more things I want to touch on. The 9/11 attacks occurred in the year 2001, and in the year 2001, we had a total solar eclipse on the summer solstice. That's an event that only occurs approximately once every 500 years. And the number 9/11 is the Greek isopsephy value of total eclipse. The 911th prime number is 7,109. And I couldn't help but notice the number 53 has Gematria of 719 in Jewish. And Donald Rumsfeld died a span of exactly 5,300 days after Gerald Ford. The phrase solar eclipse is 53. The phrase Vesica Piscis is 53, as demonstrated here in this image. In the reverse alphabetic order, 53 equals 148, which is the ordinal value of Donald Rumsfeld. And Donald Rumsfeld died 1,408 days after the first Great American Total Solar Eclipse. The number 666 is significant to the eclipse code as well. And notice how Donald Rumsfeld has matching gematria with number of the beast. News of his death was the same day that Bill Cosby was released from jail, the 30th of June, or 30/6, which again is connected to 666. The name Gerald Ford equals 180. 18 is the sum of 6 plus 6 plus 6. Donald Rumsfeld dead on the 180th day of the year. A few days ago, SpaceX launched 88 satellites into orbit. This article was 5 days ago. This would have been June 30th, as listed here, June 30th. And this happened the same day that we got news of the death of Donald Rumsfeld at the age of 88. 88, a big-time astrological number connected to the movement of the sun and the moon throughout the sky. We call this the analemma. Now, September 11th is the 254th day of the year, a number connected to both time and light in English gematria. But notice how the phrase 88 years equals 2054. The name Donald Rumsfeld equals 888. Similar. I'm sorry, guys. I had to laugh. What was going on the right side of my screen here? What is this? This is hilarious. I don't know where my head's at. Forgive me, but I just caught that out of the corner of my eye, and it just made me laugh. All right, back to serious stuff. Donald Rumsfeld, summing to 888, died dead at the age of 88. Notice how Donald Henry Rumsfeld also has matching gematria with both September of the 11th and 88 years. Rumsfeld was born on the 191st day of a leap year. 88 years equals 191 ordinal. Both his common and full names both have matching gematria with 88 years old. Also, something that Bobby just brought up is Donald Rumsfeld was born in Chicago on the date July 9th or 7/9. How many people do you think were shot in Chicago this weekend? Oh, they're changing the headlines on me. Oh, now it's up to 81, 82. Oh, 88. Look at that. 88 shot. Well, originally I found 79 was the number that they were reporting, which I thought maybe connected to Donald Rumsfeld's date of birth, July 9th. But it is interesting that they're now saying 88. That's the highest number I've seen so far. And Rumsfeld died at the age of 88. So it appears as if there could definitely be a connection there. All right. So now we're about 45 minutes in. It's a super stream, so I guess we got a little more time. The other night, my neighborhood erupted in fireworks when the Milwaukee Bucks won Game 6 over the Atlanta Hawks to make it to the NBA Finals for the first time in, 47 years, since 1974. And I've been thinking a little bit about the NBA Finals. Me personally, I can't stand basketball. It's not a sport I've ever watched. I don't care about it. So I haven't done a whole lot of decoding, but with the Bucks going deep into the postseason, I have glanced at the numerology of the Milwaukee Bucks, our coach Mike Budenholzer, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I did find some interesting things. Now, I have no idea if it points to a Bucks win yet. I haven't really looked at the numerology of the Phoenix Suns. But I just want to point out how there appears to be a riddle here connected to the Great Reset. The Suns, of course, we talked a lot about coronavirus in this video and how the corona is the atmosphere of the sun. So how appropriate that the year after Kobe's old team wins the championship, we're getting the Suns in the finals. And the Suns are from Phoenix. Think about the riddle with Phoenix, the Phoenix Rising, like the big comeback from COVID-19, the Great Reset. And then you have the Suns playing against the Bucks. Is the Bucks an underhanded reference to our monetary system, perhaps? I can't help but wonder if there's something deep going on there. And I've seen a lot of decoders saying that the Suns are definitely going to win. I still have to look, but I do want to touch on the numerology of Mike Budenholzer, the current coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. Let's bring my screen back on here. And appropriately, Mike Budenholzer used to be the coach of the Atlanta Hawks before he came over to Milwaukee, and it just so happens that we beat the Hawks. Remember, Wisconsin and Georgia are closely linked through the numbers because these are the only two states with reduction gematria of 44. And in fact, the Atlanta Hawks used to be the Milwaukee Hawks before moving to Atlanta. The Atlanta Braves used to be the Milwaukee Braves before moving to Atlanta. So there's a lot of sports history between those teams. Excuse me. Just recently, the Packers played the Falcons in a big 44 ritual. So it's been ongoing. So anyway, let's look at Mike Budenholzer and his time with the Milwaukee Bucks. So what we always want to look at is when the man was hired. Because if he is to win a championship, it's always going to be connected to the hiring date. And in this case, Mike Budenholzer was hired on May 17th of 2018. And I've had my eyes on the date July 19th. So we talked about the number 719 in my decode on Donald Rumsfeld, right? I pointed out how the 911th prime number is 7109. And this is a strong part of this riddle with Mike Budenholzer. So let's go to Basketball Reference and get Mike Budenholzer's career record. So here we find that he's coached 637 regular season games and 81 postseason games. So this means that as of right now, Mike Budenholzer has coached 718 games in his career. That means the first game of the NBA Finals will be his 719th game of all time. The Milwaukee Bucks are connected to the 911 code. In the alphabetic order, Milwaukee Bucks equals 156. The 156th prime number is 911. So not only will Budenholzer's next game be his 719th, but the NBA Finals could very well end on the date July 19th, 719. On top of this, look how many days Budenholzer will have been the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks on July 19th. A span of 1,160 days. Well, my goodness, that's an upside-down 9/11. Budenholzer was born on the date August 6th, 1969. This means that when he was hired by the Milwaukee Bucks, he was 9 months, 11 days after his birthday. Game 6 on 7/20, is that true? Fresh Prince? Let's check it out. I only saw that the first 4 were were scheduled so far. But indeed, July 20th, we get the moon landing date instead. So July 20th is going to be a date that I'll be talking about this coming week. Jeff Bezos is planning a launch to outer space on the 20th, and July 20th is the anniversary of the moon landing. So, yeah, maybe this 719 July 19th riddle was a little too strong. I did that decode before we ever had the schedule, before the Bucks made the finals. So I was just, hypothesizing, but it's crazy how there's 3-day breaks between almost every game. Look at this. So we play on the 6th and the 8th, and then 3 days, 3 days, 3 days, 3 days. Seems wildly unnecessary to have all these 3-day differences. And then Game 7 would be the 22nd. So, again, thanks to the chat for the correction. Game 6, July 20th, not July 19th. But what I do want to point out is that despite that, without the end date, that's still Mike Budenholzer's 1160th day, or 1160 days after he was hired. So there's a riddle there, and based on that, I would certainly expect the NBA Finals to end in Game 6, just like they did last year. Game 6 has Gematria of 666. This is obviously the big number of the coronavirus ritual. So that's really all the work I've done so far in the NBA. Usually at this point I would have done a little more work, but again, I just don't care about basketball so much. But with that said, let's talk a little bit more about where we're headed here with this channel. Let's see. Where's my screen? All right. So, yeah, it's July 5th. A little over a month ago, I quit my job. So I am no longer an employee of GE Healthcare. And, I got a little bit of flack from people because I worked for GE. And, those people need to understand how many years of hard labor I put into that company to get a job there. GE, one of the best companies to work for when it comes to things like insurance and ability to go up in rank. And I had realized that my time there was just pretty much up. I'd been doing basically the same thing for nearly 10 years, and there was really no end in sight as far as the operation I was running. So, after the last year, I was able to save a little more money than I was expecting. So I'm going to go ahead and take the leap into doing as much numerology work as I can. Now, understand, the past month, there's been a little more Gematria work in the way of blog posts and videos on my YouTube channel. But honestly, there hasn't been as much as I was expecting I'd be doing. And what I've been learning about myself over the past month is that numerology, while I have a strong passion for it and desire, I can't obsess over it. And, when I find myself reading the news every day, there's really only a couple things I might want to decode on a day-to-day basis. And some days, I don't really want to decode at all. So I've been kind of thinking about my future and what I want to be doing and how I want to be pitching in to help about numerology and Gematria. And I think most of the work I'll be doing, at least in the near future, will be on the website. Now, when I first built Gematrinator.com in 2017, I was a complete newbie to programming on the web. And I had a lot of plans, a lot of ideas for the website that never really came into fruition. So there's a lot of things that I had in mind. Not going to get into all of them now, but between having the full-time job, I just didn't have the energy to also make this giant web application like I had wanted to. So in the coming months, I'm definitely going to be not only building it, but also teaching myself more about how to make the website better and essentially making an advanced calculator, where people can check out like planetary dates, instant measurements to eclipses, maybe some sort of automatic decoder that finds numerical matches for you when you just punch a few things in. A lot of ideas that I want to be doing, but some of these ideas are very advanced and something that if I'm going to be spending my time on this full time now, that, I might charge a little bit, a couple bucks a month or something. And I don't know how I'm going to do this yet. I started setting up a Patreon that I'm not launching right now. I'm probably going to be doing that later this month. But I'm still thinking about what I want to do and how I want to present this information. So one thing I will probably definitely be doing is bringing back the Gematrinator podcast. So back in 2018, in the month of February, my first YouTube channel was deleted. And that triggered me to try to find new ways to share the information. So I started a weekly podcast. Now, having a full-time job and running that podcast was a ton of work. It was too much for me. It was bogging me down. So I ended up stopping that at some point like late summer. Those podcasts, you can still watch them if you want, but I ran them like a news program. I would have the stories on the left here, and I would just go, one by one, 10, 20 news stories a week or whatever. And I do plan on bringing that back. However, if I do so, it's going to be based on Patreon. So again, a few bucks a month, people can chime into the Patreon, and not only do I plan on doing, weekly weekly podcasts with decodes from throughout the week, but I also want to incorporate the community a little bit more because, over the past few years, a lot of the people in the chat and the people on the server have started to catch up and really make excellent connections between astrology and gematria. And really, when I came along and started doing this work, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make more sense of gematria because it made a little bit of sense, but when you start tying in astrological events into gematria, the planets, the magic squares, these riddles really start to complete themselves. And there's other methods to do it too. Of course, shout out to Rambo over at Gematria Effect News, who's really taken gematria to the next level and comparing it to things like tarot, ancient Greek, Norse, Egyptian mythology. These are things that are vital information for any decoder. And that's something I want to focus on a little more and help bring people into that. Also, as a part of this, I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten over the years with people offering me money to decode them or their family or something that happened in their life. And I've always kind of brushed it off because, to me, I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years, right? And I've never asked for money. The only time I ever brought up money is when the website came up for renewal. And I said, hey, it would be nice not to have to pay out of my own pocket for the website. And you guys came through. It was awesome. You've seen, I've upgraded the graphics on the website, done a couple of other things. But now I kind of want to be a little more serious about this. And one of those things, too, writing a book. I want to have my own book talking about eclipses and how significant events through history are consistently coded to whether it's a significant American eclipse or the nearest total solar eclipse of the time. I think there's so much work that can be done on this, and it's something that I think needs to be out there, and I just haven't seen it go out there yet. Classes, that's an interesting idea too. I have heard, I've gotten messages about having individual or group sessions trying to teach people gematria, and I don't know how I'm going to approach that yet, because to me, I'm learning this too, right? I'm not a professor. I'm not someone who was taught everything there is to know, and I'm trying to teach it. We're kind of all in this together, trying to discover what these riddles mean, what measurement techniques are the most consistent. Yeah, not something I've given a whole lot of thought to, but it's something I'd like to do. I mean, this is something that I feel should be taught in school, and of course it won't be. Instead of teaching something fun and fascinating like numerology, they want to teach our kids critical race theory. They want to convince kids of minorities that they have no chance, that it's the cards are stacked against them. And it's unfortunate, because some of the most successful people I know, or the people who are the most successful that I know, had to work the hardest to get there. We all have challenges in our lives. Some people have greater challenges than others. And, I think a lot of people on this channel probably have my... my webcam froze. Oh, no. I knew this was going to happen. Look at my face on that one, too. Oh, brother. Well, at least it took an hour to freeze. Usually it does that within the first couple minutes. So I'm glad it made it as long as I did. God, I wish it would have frozen on a nicer frame, but oh well. So yeah, I guess more details to come. Again, I plan on launching the Patreon some point later this month. And, for me, like, this is pretty scary stuff. What I'm throwing away with my job at GE, you guys got to remember, I didn't go to college. I don't have a degree. I didn't even really finish high school. Everything I did, I taught myself. And I ended up getting into a company like GE. And, I've gotten a lot of crazy looks from people when I told them that I'm throwing away a nearly $80,000 annual salary with excellent benefits to try and teach about numbers. Okay? Like, this is not a smart financial decision for me, but this has nothing to do with money for me. Money for me has always been just an obstacle, never a goal. If I can make enough money to get by doing this, I don't care if I make half of what I was making before. I don't care. I'm not doing this to enrich my bank account. I'm doing this to enrich my life, if that makes sense. So, I've had a lot of, I've been looking for signs, and I definitely feel like I got the signs I needed to go ahead and do this and really put my effort into it. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge because, I've been in the same work habits for basically my entire adulthood. I've been employed by GE since 2013, but I've worked for that company through contractors since 2007. So my entire adult life has been focused on GE and doing a good job with them. And now here I am suddenly on my own boss. I'm regulating my own time. And it's a big change. So, yeah, and, worst case scenario, I do this full time for a year or two, and then I, go back to work because, it doesn't work. And I have to let the market decide. If there's a market for this type of information, then I think, it'll come back to me in a good, positive way. And I really do think that the work that I do is unique. I'm offering something different to the Gematria community, so hopefully that support will be there. But, again, I'm taking my time on figuring out how I want to structure this. If people have suggestions, maybe throw me an email. I don't know. I'm also on Discord a lot, so you can always feel free to pop in there. But yeah, that'll be we'll be picking that up pretty soon. So with that news, I'm going to be putting an end to this super stream. Thanks to everybody for dropping in the middle of the day here. I guess a lot of you probably have off of work today. I know I would have if I was still working. So, yeah, 100 viewers in the middle of the day is pretty awesome. Thanks to everybody for chiming in. The chat was really great today. I wish I was able to bring up more things that you guys mentioned. But in the future, we'll be more focused on the community and chat-based things. We'll get there. All right, enough rambling from me. Thanks again, everybody. The support's been phenomenal so far, and I hope that continues in the future. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to you all soon. See ya.